Krishna 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 Hey. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं निगमयति यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणमध्यानन्दमाधवं। Hare Krishna. So I seek blessings of all devotees so that I can read for all of your pleasure nicely. So we are in chapter 3. Yeah. On hearing the prayers of Devaki, the Lord replied, quote, "My dear mother, in the millennium of Swayambhuva Manu, my father Vasudev was living as one of the Prajapatis. His name at that time was Sutapa, and you were his wife named Prishni. At that time, when Lord Brahma was desiring to increase the population, he requested you to generate offspring." So Prajapati means one who gives birth to a lot of praja. Praja means kids. So that's all. You controlled your senses and performed severe austerities. By practicing the breathing exercise of yoga system, both you and your husband could tolerate all the influences of material laws, the rainy season, the onslaught of the wind, and the scorching heat of the sunshine. You also executed all religious principles. In this way, you were able to cleanse your heart and control the influences of the material laws. In executing your austerity, you used to eat only the leaves of the trees which fell to the ground. Then, with a steady mind and controlled sex drive, you worshipped me, desiring some wonderful benediction from me. Both of you practiced severe austerities for 12,000 years by the calculation of the demigods. During that time, your mind was always absorbed in me. When you were executing devotional service and always thinking of me within your heart, I was very much pleased with you. O sinless mother, your heart is therefore always pure. At that time also I appeared before you in this form just to fulfill your desire. And I asked you to ask whatever you desired. At that time, you wished to have me born as your son. Although you saw me personally, instead of asking for your complete liberation from material bondage, under the influence of my energy, you asked me to become your son. Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, he writes about these verses, that how actually the man and woman should not just unite for having fun, but it's it should be done as Garbhadhan Sanskar, and we should procreate Krishna conscious children. So that point Prabhupada mentions. And another beautiful point he mentions is that Devaki and Vasudeva, like Sutapa and Prishni in this case, they did not ask liberation. So they remained in the material world for a higher purpose, to get Krishna as their son. So under the influence of my energy, you ask me to become your son. End of the quote. In other words, to appear in the material world, the Lord selected his mother and father, namely Prishni and Sutapa, respectively. Whenever the Lord comes as a human being, he must have a mother and a father. So he selected Prishni and Sutapa to be his mother and father perpetually. And on account of this, neither Prishni nor Sutapa could ask the Lord for liberation. Liberation is not so important as the transcendental living service of the Lord. The Lord could have awarded Prishni and Sutapa immediate liberation, but he preferred to keep them within the material world for his different appearances, as will be explained in the following verses. On receiving the benediction from the Lord to become his father and mother, Sutapa and Prishni retired from the activities of austerity and lived as husband and wife in order to beget a child who was the Supreme Lord himself. In due course of time, Prishni became pregnant and gave birth to the child. The Lord spoke to Devaki and Vasudeva, quote, "At that time, my name was Prishni Garbha. In the next millennium, you took birth as Aditi and Kashyapa, and I became your child of the name Upendra. At that time, my form was just like a dwarf, and for this reason, I was known as Vamanadev. I gave you the benediction that I would take birth as your son 3 times. The first time I was known as Prishnigarbha, born of Prishni and Sutapa. In the next birth I was Upendra, born of Aditi and Kashyapa. And now for the 3rd time I am born as Krishna from you, Devaki and Vasudeva. I have appeared in this Vishnu form just to convince you that I am the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, again taken birth. I could have appeared just like an ordinary child, but in that way you would not have believed that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had taken birth in your womb. My dear father and mother, you have therefore raised me many times as your child, with great affection and love, and I am therefore very much pleased and obliged to you. And I assure you that this time you shall go back home, back to Godhead, on account of your perfection in your mission. I know you are very concerned about me and afraid of Kamsa. Therefore, in order you to take me immediately to Gokula and exchange me for the daughter who had just been born to Yashoda." End of quote. Having spoken thus to his father and mother, the Lord turned himself into an ordinary child in the presence and remained silent. So here we can see that they performed austerity for so many years and Lord appeared, but immediately Lord is saying, "Take me to Gokul." So they never objected, do some pastime with me. So that shows their, surrender, So, being ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva prepared to take his son from the delivery room. And exactly at that time, a daughter was born to Nanda and Yashoda. She was Yogamaya, the internal potency of the Lord. By the influence of this internal potency, Yogamaya, all the residents of Kamsa's palace, especially the doorkeepers, were overwhelmed with deep sleep, and all the palace doors opened, although they were barred and shackled with iron chains. The night was very dark, but as soon as Vasudeva took Krishna on his lap and went out, he could see everything just as in sunlight. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that Krishna is just like sunlight, and that wherever there is Krishna, the illusory energy which is compared to darkness cannot remain. When Vasudeva was carrying Krishna, the darkness of the night disappeared. All the prison doors automatically opened. At the same time, there was roaring thunder in the sky and severe rainfall. While Vasudeva was carrying his son Krishna in the falling rain, Lord Shesha, in the shape of a serpent, spread his hood over the head of Vasudeva so that he would not be hampered by the rainfall. Vasudeva came onto the bank of the Yamuna and saw that the water of the Yamuna was roaring with waves and that the whole span was full of foam. Still, in that ferocious feature, the river gave passage to Vasudeva to cross, just as the great Indian Ocean gave a path to Lord Ram when he was bridging over the gulf. In this way, Vasudeva crossed the river Yamuna. On the other side, he went to the place of Nanda Maharaj, situated in Gokula, where he saw that all the cowherd men were fast asleep. He took the opportunity to silently enter the house of Yashoda, and without difficulty, he exchanged his son for the baby girl newly born there. So Srila Prabhupada, during these verses, he writes that actually he exchanged the Yogamaya, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Harivamsha, he explains that actually Yashoda Mata had given birth to twins. So there is a reference even from Srila Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavatamrita and Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Both of them, they mention that the Krishna known as Yadukumar is Vasudeva Krishna. He is different from Krishna, who is the son of Nanda Maharaj. Yadukumar Krishna manifests his pastimes in the cities of Mathura and Dwarka, but Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, never at any time leaves Vrindavan. So this is mentioned by Srila Rupa Goswami in Laghu Bhagavatamrita 1.5.461 and by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila 1.67. So Srila Rupa Goswami explains that actually Yashoda Mata gave birth to twins. First Krishna was born and then Yogamaya was born. So that's why she is called as a younger sister. And when Vasudeva went to the labor room, he could see only the daughter. And that time the Vasudeva Krishna, he merged into Shyamasundar Krishna. So it's inconceivable how a same person can be born two places from two time, at the same time. But that's Lord actually. He can do anything and he keeps things inconceivable so that we remain humble. We cannot say that by my intellect I can understand everything. So this is the mystery that Krishna, he appeared at the same time, and that Acharya has, like Rupa Goswami, and again later Jiva Goswami confirms that. So this is had happened, like, Prabhupada also gives hint in Bhagavatam here. He also gives hint when Krishna's Jata Karma was performed. Prabhupada mentions in the purport that Jata Karma is done, so this is in 5th chapter, when the umbilical cord is cut. But Prabhupada mentions that since Krishna was also even born to Yashoda, the ceremony is legitimate. Nanda Maharaj could do that. So he took the opportunity to silently enter the house of Yashoda, and without difficulty he exchanged his son for the baby girl newly born there. Then, after entering the house very silently and exchanging the boy for the girl, he returned to the prison of Kamsa and silently put the girl on the lap of Devaki. He again clamped the shackles on himself so that Kamsa could not recognize that so many things had happened. Mother Yashoda understood that a child had been born to her, but because she was very tired from the labor of childbirth, she fell fast asleep. When she awoke, she could not remember whether she had given birth to a male or a female child. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 3rd chapter of Krishna, the birth of Lord Krishna. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Shri Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Okay. Chapter 4. Kamsa begins his persecutions. After Vasudeva adjusted things as they had been before he carried Krishna to Gokul, and all the doors and gates became similarly closed, the gatekeepers awoke and heard the newborn child crying. Kamsa was waiting to hear the news of the child's birth, and the gatekeepers immediately approached him and informed him that the child was born. At that time, Kamsa got up from his bed very quickly and exclaimed, quote, "Now the cruel death of my life is born." Quote end. Kamsa became perplexed now that his death was approaching, and his hair scattered. Immediately he proceeded towards the place where the child was born. Devaki, on seeing her brother approaching, prayed in a very meek attitude to Kamsa. Quote, actually we can hear Maharaja's recording. He has a perfect voice, so I cannot try to imitate, but just try. Quote, "My dear brother, please do not kill this female child. I promise that this child will be the wife of your son. Therefore, don't kill her. You are not to be killed by any female child. The omen was that you are to be killed by the male child. So please do not kill her. My dear brother, you have killed so many of my children who were just born, shining like the sun. This is not your fault. You have been advised by demonic friends to kill my children. But now I beg you to excuse these girls at least. Let her live as my daughter." Quote ends. Kamsa was so cruel that he did not listen to the pitiful prayers of his sister Devaki. He forcibly grabbed the newborn child to rebuke his sister and attempted to dash her on the stone mercilessly. This is the graphic example of a cruel demon who could sacrifice all relationships for the sake of personal gratification. So actually Kamsa at least waited till the time child was born. In nowadays the cruelty has increased to an extent that before the child is born they do abortion, and then government pays for it. So like yesterday how Archita Prabhu was mentioning that the mentality is demonic and that is still there, and we can see that it has aggravated, it has increased than decreasing. But the child immediately slipped out of his hands, went up in the sky, and appeared with 8 arms as the younger sister of Vishnu. Shri Subhadra Maharani ki jai. She was decorated with nice garments and flower garlands and ornaments. In her 8 hands she had a bow, lance, arrows, sword, conch shell, disc, club, and shield. Seeing the appearance of the child, who was actually the goddess Durga, all the demigods from different planets like Siddhaloka, Charanaloka, Gandharvaloka, Apsaraloka, Kinnarloka, and Urgalaloka presented her with various articles and began to offer their respective prayers. From the above, the goddess addressed Kamsa, quote, "You rascal, how can you kill me? The child who will kill you is already born before me somewhere within this world. Don't be so cruel to your poor sister." End of quote. After this appearance, Goddess Durga became known by various names in various parts of the world. After hearing these words, Kamsa became very much overwhelmed with fear. Out of pity, he immediately released Vasudeva and Devaki from the bondage of their shackles and very politely began to address them. He said, quote, "My dear sister and brother-in-law, I have acted just like a demon in killing my own nephews, your children, and thereby I have given up all considerations of our intimate relationship. I do not know what will be the result of these envious acts of mine. Probably I shall be sent to the hell where the killers of Brahmanas go. I am surprised, however, that the celestial prophecy had not come true. It is not only the human society that false propaganda is found. Now it appears that even the celestial denizens speak lies. Because I believed in the words of the celestial denizens, I have committed so many sins by killing the children of my sister." So see, in Vedic literatures, like in previous ages, it is said what to speak of speaking lie. Even considering wrong about someone in mind would cause karmic reaction. So Kamsa was very much aware of this fact, so he is surprised that how the celestials could lie. "My dear Vasudeva and Devaki, you are both very great souls. I have no instructions to give you, but still I request that you not be sorry for the death of your children. Even one of us is under the control of Every one of us is under the control of superior power, and that the superior power does not allow us to remain together. We are bound to be separated from our friends and relatives in due course of time. But we must know for certain that even after the disappearance of different material bodies, the soul remains intact eternally." She is speaking Bhagavad Gita philosophy actually. Same thing was done by Hiranyakashipu when Hiranyaksha was dead. So if we just remove Hiranyakashipu Vacha, it's Bhagavad Gita. So they know, but they use it inappropriately at the wrong time for a wrong purpose. So this same example here. Now he's even quoting example. For example, there are many pots made of earthly clay and they are prepared and also broken. But in spite of this, the earth remains as it is perpetually. Similarly, the bodies of the soul under different conditions are made and destroyed, but the spirit soul remains eternally. So there is nothing to lament over. Everyone should understand that this material body is different from the spirit soul, and so long as one does not come to that understanding, he is sure to accept the process of transmigration from one body to another. My dear sister Devaki, you are so gentle and kind. Please excuse me. Don't be aggravated by the death of your children, which I have caused. Actually, this was not done by me, because all these are predestined activities. One has to act according to the predestined plan, even unwillingly. People misunderstand that with the end of the body, the self dies, or they think that one can kill another living entity. All this misconception oblige one to accept the conditions of material existence. In other words, as long as one is not firmly convinced of the eternality of the soul, one is subjected to the tribulation of being killer and killed. My dear sister Devaki and brother in law Vasudev, kindly excuse the atrocities I have committed against you. I am very poor hearted, and you are so great hearted. So take compassion upon me and excuse me. End of quote. While Kamsa was speaking to his brother in law and sister, tears flowed from his eyes, and he fell down at their feet. Believing the words of Durga Devi, whom he tried to kill, Kamsa immediately released his brother in law and sister. He personally unlocked the iron shackles and very sympathetically showed his friendship for his family members. When Devaki saw her brother so repentant, she became pacified and forgot all the atrocious activities against her children. Vasudeva also, forgetting all past incidents, spoke smilingly with his brother in law. Vasudeva told Kamsa, quote, "My dear fortunate brother in law, what you are saying about the material body and the soul is correct. Every living entity is born ignorant, misunderstanding this material body to be his self. This conception of life is due to ignorance, and on the basis of this ignorance, we can create enmity or friendship. Lamentation, jubilation, fearfulness, envy, greed, illusion, and madness are different features of our material concept of life. A person influenced like this engages in enmity only due to the material body. Being engaged in such activities, we forget our eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead." End of quote. Vasudeva took the opportunity of Kamsa's benevolence and informed him that his atheistic activities were also due to this misconception of life, namely, taking the material body to be the self. When Vasudeva talked with Kamsa in such an illuminating way, Kamsa became very much pleased, and his guilt for killing his nephews subsided. With the permission of his sister Devaki and brother in law Vasudeva, he returned to his home with a relieved mind. But the next day, Kamsa called all his counselors together and narrated to them all the incidences that had happened the night before. All the counselors of Kamsa were demons and eternal enemies of the demigods. So they become depressed upon hearing their master speak of night's events. And although they were not very much experienced or learned, they began to give instructions to Kamsa as follows. Quote, "Dear sir, let us now make arrangements to kill all children who are born within the last 10 days in all towns, countries, villages, and pasturing grounds. Let us execute this plan indiscriminately. We think that the demigod cannot do anything against us if we perform these atrocities. They are always afraid of fighting with us, and even if they wish to check our activities, they will not dare to do so. Because of your immeasurable strength, they fear your bow. Indeed, we have practical experience that whenever you stood to fight with them and began to shower your arrows on them, they immediately fled in all directions just to save their lives. Many of the demigods were unable to fight with you, and they immediately surrendered themselves unto you by loosening their turbans and the tufts of their hair on their heads. With folded hands, they begged you to spare them and said, quote, "My Lord, we are all afraid of your strength. Please release us from this dangerous fight." End of quote. We have also seen many times that you would never kill such surrendered fighters when they were all fearful, their bows, arrows, and chariots broken, forgetful of their military activities and unable to fight with you. So actually, we have nothing to fear from these demigods. They are very proud of being great fighters in peacetime outside the war field. But actually, they cannot show any talent or military power on the war field. Although Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, and Lord Brahma are always ready to help the demigods headed by Indra, we have no reason to be afraid of them. As far as Lord Vishnu is concerned, he is already hidden himself within the hearts of all living entities, and he cannot come out. As far as Lord Shiva is concerned, he has renounced all activities. He has already entered into the forest. And Lord Brahma is always engaged in different types of austerities and meditation. And what to speak of Indra? He is a straw in comparison to your strength. Therefore, we have nothing to fear from any of these demigods. But we must not neglect them, for the demigods are our determined enemies. We must be careful to protect ourselves. To root them out from their very existence, we should just engage ourselves in your service and be always ready for your command. End of quote. The demons continued to say, if there is some disease in the body which is neglected, it worsens and becomes incurable. Similarly, when one is not careful about restraining the senses and lets them loose, it is then very difficult to control them. Therefore, we must now be very careful of the demigods before they get too strong to be subdued. The foundation of the strength of the demigods is Lord Vishnu, because the ultimate goal of all the religious principles is to satisfy him. The Vedic injunctions, the Brahmanas, the cows, austerities, sacrifices, performances of charity, and distribution of wealth are all for the satisfaction of Vishnu. So let us immediately begin by killing all the Brahmanas who were in charge of Vedic knowledge. Along with the great sages who are in charge of sacrificial ritualistic performances, let us kill all the cows, which are the source of butter, which is so necessary for performing sacrifices. Please give us your permission to kill all these creatures. Quote. Actually, the limbs of the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu are the Brahmanas, the cows, Vedic knowledge, austerity, truthfulness, sense and mind control, faithfulness, charity, tolerance, and performance of sacrifices. Lord Vishnu is situated in everyone's heart and is the leader of all demigods, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Therefore, we think that to persecute the great sages and Brahmanas is to kill Lord Vishnu. End of quote. So this again, same, the Hiranyakashipu ordered all these things to the followers of, his followers, the demons. And the demons, their frequency matches, thought process. So same thing they are doing. And then one more striking difference, just the night before, Kamsa became a remorseful and very gentlemanly. But the next day, because of their association, it changed back. So there's the power of association again, right? Thus, being advised by his demonic ministers, Kamsa, who was from the very beginning the greatest rascal, decided to prosecute the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, being entrapped by the shackles of all during eternal time. He ordered the demons to harass all kinds of saintly persons, and then he entered his house. The adherents of Kamsa were all influenced by the mode of passion as well as illusioned by the mode of ignorance, and their only business was to create enmity with saintly persons. Such activities can only reduce one's duration of life. The demons accelerated the process and invited their deaths as soon as possible. The result of persecuting saintly persons is not only untimely death. The act is so offensive that the preparator also gradually loses his beauty, his fame, and his religious principles, and thus his promotion to higher planets is checked. Driven by various kinds of mental concoctions, the demons diminish all kinds of auspiciousness. An offense at the lotus feet of devotee and brahmanas is the greatest offense than that committed at the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead. A civilization that commits such sinful activities generally loses all faith in the Supreme Lord, and such a godless civilization becomes the source of all calamities in human society. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the fourth chapter of Krishna. Kamsa begins his persecutions. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Nanda Nandana Shama Sundar ki jai, Mor Mukta Bamsi Wale ki jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. जय श्री रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश की जय, गौर निताय की जय, जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, कृष्णा बुक रीडिंग की जय.